AI in recruitment.
Yes.
So I think the first conversation we ever had, if I remember rightly, I was ranting on about my dystopian vision of the future, where essentially there's a bloodbath in the recruitment industry, which I mean, look, this is not a cheerful thought to share, but I foresee an absolute bloodbath in recruitment. I think I'm seeing a lot of really problematic signs from recruiters that you talk to about their views on AI. It was one of the things that inspired the timing of Recruitment Digital Partners. Henry and I were sitting talking about this, and we were like, there is going to be a massive shift. There are going to be a small number of winners in this massive shift, and we need to now stop this theoretical, stop this building interesting things. We need to go out and we need to build relationships fast with the people who are positioned to be the winners of the AI shift. It's weird because we're not an AI company by any stretch of the imagination, although we use it a lot. But it's absolutely the center of a lot of our thinking, of a lot of our business logic, I suppose. And the real thing for me about AI and recruitment is there are two camps that I see a lot of, and there's then this tiny subset that are viewing it differently. The camps that I see a lot of, this group is shrinking, every month. To be honest, that's the sort of iteration in AI. It's the people who are like, oh, well, yeah, AI is shit. And you can't argue with some of the stuff that they say. I give AI a job to do, it doesn't do it very well. This is shit. And it's still in its infancy. But for me, those people are like retailers in 1999 telling people that the internet and Amazon and e-commerce is a fad. So they're gonna glibly whistle along while AI is getting better and better. And by the time they kind of realize that they're missing a boat, that ship's already sailed essentially. So there's one group who are going to sit with their head in their sand. They're going to point out the very definite, very obvious flaws of AI as a reason to completely ignore it, and they're going to get killed. Actually, in recruitment, and I don't know that this is true of every industry, but in recruitment, there's another group who are growing in number, who I think are going to spend the next year and a half patting themselves on the back before turning around and realizing they've killed their own industry. The number of conversations I've had, these are none of them are the people that we're working with, but the number of conversations I've had with people who are like, oh, AI is fantastic. I don't need any employees. I don't need to do any work. I can throw 3 prompts into ChatGPT, have it run my business, and I'm still going to charge my clients 25%. Woo! And those people, I think at the moment are feeling more and more confident because AI every month, every week sometimes is getting better at a lot of the jobs that we need to do. And they are getting away with it, and they are scaling their businesses and having loads and loads of the work done for a 20 quid a month subscription, but they're deeply commoditizing their service.
Yeah.
And just because the clients haven't caught on yet that they can do a lot of what the recruiter is doing when they're just an AI only agency, that is a matter of time.
Agreed.
The bigger, the smarter, the more sophisticated clients are going to get this first. If your differentiator is, I know how to write a prompt into Claude, or I've subscribed to these 3 AI services, you don't have a differentiator.
Finding the candidates is no longer a problem for anybody.
A lot of spaces, yeah.
And obviously the clients have got access to the same tools as the recruiters. So the talent acquisition teams are using the same tools. And you're absolutely right. Most of the grunt is what used to take 2 days can now be done in 20 minutes. The argument is the accuracy of it and what am I missing? But the speed differentiator's gone. The we can find candidates differentiator's gone. The margin's been squeezed because a lot of the grunt work's been done. And I think the winners will be the ones that are wrapping service around the candidate delivery, the add-ons, because it'll be clients calling recruiters for judgment. The judgment piece will always be there, which is why I think the winners will be the recruitment agencies that use AI,
100%.
but it's like little ducks' feet under the water. So the ones that don't shout and scream AI, that just go about their business, but have educational pieces and add-on services around the candidate delivery and are subject matter experts and niche. I think they'll be the winners. I think there'll be some elements of recruitment, some spaces, some verticals that in 2 to 3 years' time, maybe sooner, will almost completely disappear. I can see it just removing a whole layer of recruitment. And I think it'll be the real niche expertise consultancy where the clients really value the opinion of the recruiter and the judgment calls. Because a CV will always be a CV. AI can write a candidate summary better than most recruiters, and recruiters, you won't want to hear that, but it's true. And if they're not doing it better now, it's only a matter of time until they do. Shortlisting is becoming button pushing. And if you get very good at using the tools, that's the shortlisting bit's done. The candidate attraction part, candidate gathering, gone. And it's going to come down to judgment.
Yeah. I think there's a bit that you've missed in my view from that, and that's relationships. I think if you look to be a commoditized speed of CV kind of delivery agent, really there's no great value in that. But if you look to go deep in relationships with your candidates, if you look to go deep in relationships with your clients, then I think you build an edge. And I know it's very difficult to call a relationship a mold, but let's be honest, there are people that you work with today, and there are definitely people I work with today who could go and find someone who bring them the same things I bring them. And if they shopped around, they could find cheaper, they could find different solutions, and they simply won't because they want to buy it from me.
Those relationships are easier to cultivate when it's a specialist area or a niche.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to. The amount of times I've employed recruiters that have said, I've got clients that will come with me, and all of a sudden they don't.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure that these relationships at lower level jobs are as solid as people like to think they are.
Yeah.
I think when somebody's a real subject matter expert in a niche, and that relationship is, I know one, they won't mind me mentioning it. I'm pretty sure there's a company that we used to work with, and they use some agencies, and I think they've used that agency literally from day one. And most of them are relatively senior IT roles. It's all Office 365, Microsoft partner stuff. And I think that relationship's pretty much set in stone. But I think if you are using lower level trades, labours, lower level skill set, my challenge to that is I don't think that relationship's as sticky. I really don't. But I guess time will tell, won't it? I mean, AI is affecting every single bit of it, isn't it? It's affecting the candidate side. It's affecting the recruitment agency model.
Mm-hmm.
The model itself is being impacted by it. The system and processes within the recruitment agency side, and also the client side, which we've touched on, because they've now got access to the same tools. So the value add there is shrinking all the time, because the client's thinking, well, I can do that. We can do that. We can do that. We can also do that. Much easier than they used to be able to do. From the candidate perspective, we've got all these similar sounding CVs. We've done a little video on this before, I'm pretty sure, about everything sounding exactly the same. The CVs and cover notes are tailored to each job description and sometimes even auto-applied.
Mm-hmm.
There's a real problem with Candidate Copilot, whereby there's big delays between, when they're not actually face-to-face interviews, like the first and second stage, where they're being prompted by interview co-pilots. There's some European legislation and some American legislation. I think it's either been put through or it's nearly going to be, it's on the verge of being passed, that it's going to be actually illegal to use bits of AI in the interview process because of the
candidate or as the interviewer.
But I think I don't know is the honest answer. I think it's client side. Something about the interview, the bias.
In the EU, I think they've either passed or about to pass a law saying that you can't have someone selected for a job by AI.
Yeah.
I don't think it stops you from shortlisting, but
no,
you can't let the ultimate decision should be with a person.
No. So you've got to have a human in the loop in the hiring process. But this is just stage one, isn't it? This is embryonic sort of legislation that's trying to react to some of the challenges that are already appearing. For example, a co-pilot on an interview. So there's like big delays between the Q and the A, and they're actually, they're being prompted.
Yeah.
And I mentioned this the other day. HeyGen HeyGen does an avatar. The HeyGen avatar or your lookalike is frightening.
I
You
mean,
could be,
at the minute, I'm out on a walk with my dog.
well,
I'm
yeah,
fucking yeah, but
yeah,
you literally could do
yes,
that.
but yes, that's how good it is.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
you have to really, really concentrate, and you almost have to know that. I mean, I don't know what effect that'd have on the interview, but that's the impact of AI on recruitment. It's getting to the point where somebody could be sat in their pajamas doing their interview. So it's the whole dynamics of the whole thing. Can you remember in the old days, an interview was a big deal, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Prepping. I mean, it still goes on. Obviously, it still goes on. Prepping your candidate for interview, helping them, guiding them through the whole process, letting them know where to go. Those are all the bits that AI will never replace. But the actual face-to-face interviews, almost like the last, pretty much the last parts. You used to put your shirt and tie on. It was a massive deal. Now an interview is just like, for most people, it's just like, oh, here's another interview. But they used to be a big deal, didn't they?
It did, yeah. I remember like candidate side, it was massive. Yeah, you spent a lot of time getting yourself ready for it. There's something that kind of I think quite interesting that comes out of this because we're talking about this kind of brute force AI impact on recruitment. We're talking about how many things can be faked by AI, but there was something you said there, and I deeply believe in the truth of this, and I think it's a thing that if recruiters position themselves right, I'm going to talk a little bit about how you might be able to do that in a second. That is a moat, is a genuine moat, and I don't think AI is going to be able to do as effectively as a human recruiter. And it goes a bit beyond relationships. You talked about very, very niche. And I think that's going to be incredibly important because I think in the disruption that's going to come from AI, the very obvious, very early losers are going to be the small generalist agencies. You know, the I do whatever job you like in this part of Kent type agency. You know, the Adecos of the world are going to be big enough and ugly enough to sort of stumble through being generalist because they're huge.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to be true of like, you know, Mrs. Miggins Medway. I think that business has a real has a real problem due to the lack of speciality. But the thing that the client can't get from any tool, and not every recruiter is even close to being able to deliver this, and I think every recruiter who wants to survive needs to be able to deliver this, is that kind of broader employment market picture. You know, having your sort of ear to the ground, that knowledge of what everyone else is doing, which I don't think the talent acquisition team from anything from a small business to a big corporate has that same kind of finger on the pulse of the talent market. You know, I've used this example before. I don't know if it's in a conversation with you or if it's in a recording, so if I sound repetitive, I have talked to more than one recruiter. But there was a role being filled, a really senior role. She invested in his business. It came up, and the two principals of the business talked back and forwards. They knew exactly the guy who should fill the role. They said it on the first conversation when the role came up, and lo and behold, 3 months later, because it was about 4 months later, because it was a long notice period, that's the guy who's now the general manager there. And they know because they know all of the people at the senior level of the industry that they work in. So even the ones that they're not actually working with, they know them. They know where they're working. They know what they like. They know how those places work. They know what's good. They know what's bad. I don't think those sorts of recruiters are particularly replaceable.
No, 100%. That's kind of my point.
Yeah, exactly.
I think there's almost going to be an Airblade situation where unless you're really, really good and you add value at that level, I think you're going to drop away.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It's going to be a race to the bottom, isn't it? Because not every business is gonna have a significant talent acquisition function. Is going to take all of those subscriptions, you know. So if you want to bang out sort of candidates at 400 quid a go in 3 years' time, then yeah, you can still be a recruiter without being a total specialist. But I think that's the level you're going to be at. It's going to be like being a website developer today because it's terrifying.
It's going, in my opinion, it's going to flip full circle whereby 6 months ago or a year ago, everybody was shouting from the rooftop saying we're AI-enabled recruitment and we're faster, speedier, cheaper. Like, okay, next agency and talent acquisition teams, we're faster, we're free, we work for the client, we can do everything you can do. Shit, okay, we're now what next? And I think it's gonna go full circle whereby The differentiator is going to be judgment, knowledge, experience, market sector knowledge, expertise, subject matter expertise, all the bits that AI have got just can't get anywhere near.
Exactly.
Because
Exactly.
I keep going back to this plastering thing because I see these robots trying to plaster, and they can do
Don't get that.
massive. They can do
Okay.
massive. Have you seen them? They do massive walls, and they're going up and down. And I'm just thinking to myself, right, stick a bathroom sink and a toilet on that wall and see how the robot deals with that. That all of a sudden you got to know how to plaster. It's that sort of thing, isn't it? The
Yeah.
spanner in the works, the roles where you really need to know your stuff, and that's when a client will get the value from the recruiter, where you can dip into that fountain of knowledge and the wealth of experience that they've built up over years of having their eye on the market and knowing where people have gone, knowing who's a little bit pissed off in their role, knowing who might fancy a little tickle with a little job description. See what I've got.
Yeah.
That's
What's
what
changing
AI
at
can't do.
ABC Limited at the minute? Oh, we know that it's a little bit disruptive. There's a new GM in there. Nobody likes him. Oh, that's a good place to try and pick up engineers from at the minute.
Exactly.
That's
Exactly.
the sort of stuff that's absolute gold dust. And look, I think a lot of this conversation so far has been terribly negative. So I suppose it's worth saying I actually do think there's a prescription for a solution to this. And I think anyone today who is going, right, yeah, okay, shit, I see where you're coming from. There is a problem coming. I want to get myself ready for it. I believe firmly that I've actually got the answer. And what we're doing is we're aligning ourselves when we invest, when we work with partner people, we do JVs, we're aligning ourselves with the people who kind of already are thinking in this similar way. So I'm going to use an example from my own trade, from marketing. And marketing is another industry that's going to be really, really disrupted by AI. I mean, in reality, we use AI heavily in our content creation. What we don't do, and maybe it's because I'm a Luddite, maybe it's because I'm a weird perfectionist, but nothing goes out the door without human edit. Even if AI's drafted it, nothing goes out the door for us to our clients without a human edit, and nothing goes out the door for our clients without their thumbs up. So, we know that the stuff we're doing is good. It does save us time, but we don't just let it go away and write for us. So, you could in a marketing capacity do exactly the same thing as a recruiter can do and go, oh, button press, job done, lovely. I've just saved a lot of time. I'm going to go and play golf and I'm going to keep trying to charge the same fees until everyone realizes it's now a button pressing job. That is one route that you can take. But I've been doing something over the last couple of days that 10 years ago, running a big digital agency, stack of staff, I had all sorts of people who were working for me who could tag in on this. We simply could not do. It wasn't an option. It would be too intensely laborious. So what I've been doing, and it's all AI with human judgment on top, what I've been doing is I've been analyzing the transcript of, the last sort of 50 or 60 conversations that we've had with founders, presenting our offer. And we've been doing sentiment analysis on each part of the way that we present to our clients, to our prospective clients, to our prospective partners, what's landing, what isn't landing. And that's us talking, you and me talking to founders, because what I wanted to do was to start to align our homepage copy to the way that the partners that we work with think. So, one of the first things I did is, right, look, listen to, well, not listen, it's a transcript, analyze 50 conversations and look for every point where a prospective partner, and paid particular attention to ones who did become partners, reframes our offer in their own words. Now look for patterns. When that happens, what are the patterns? Look at parts of our offer that aren't landing, that we have to go through 2 or 3 explanations because it's not kind of hitting right with the partner. And what I've been able to do is to understand when we're talking to people, what are we saying right? What are we saying wrong? I'm not changing the offer. Fundamentally, we're doing the same thing, but
yeah. I know you're going.
there are some bits that are just not sticking. You just couldn't have done that 10 years ago.
No.
It would have been anecdotal. So yeah, we talk to, whenever we're creating copy, we would certainly talk to sales teams, we'd talk to customer service, we'd talk to people who talk to the customer in order to try and get it. But it was all their instinct. I mean, this is hard data. Here are 75 times that someone has reframed the offer during a conversation. This is what they said. Here are those 75 to 30 that are pretty similar. Right. That's the thing that they wanted to buy. That's the thing that they went, yeah, I want this. That's right for me. I'm not, it feels like I've gone off on a weird tangent. I'm not saying this because I want kudos for what a clever idea this was. The reason I'm saying this is actually you can do two things. You can use AI to play more golf, and look, fair play to you. If you're 62 and you want to hang your boots up in 3 years, do it. Do it. Make hay while the sun shines, and don't worry too much about this. If you're sitting there 26 and you're going, "Oh, this is brilliant. I can smash out AI, keep billing, and I only work an hour a day now," that is going to catch up with you. So what you might want to do, if you can look in your heart and say, "I am one of those people who has his ear so close to the ground of his industry, so niche in my selection of industry that I am irreplaceable because of the relationships and because of the knowledge I have," great. If you're not, why don't you use the time you've saved to become that? So, I think the people who will really win in recruitment in this AI revolution, they're not the people who ignore AI. If you aren't looking for every place you can use AI to be more efficient and to get any grunt work, any donkey work, any repetitive work away from you. If you're not saying, "Listen, this is an opportunity," maybe in the past, I would have had to have 3 recruiters working for me to churn through this. Actually, I can have one really, really good guy, really, really good girl working for me, and I can save some of that overhead. If you're not doing that, you're going to really struggle. But I think at the same time, if you're sitting there going, "Oh, look, I can just shift all rope for high fees and nobody's going to notice," you're gonna be in real trouble. That run it.
The end of recruitment's being squeezed. The relationship fine will be the relationship side will be just fine. What ultimately the recruiters have got to do is pick which part they're in.
Yeah. And I think that's going to be about saying, "Look, I am going to use AI everywhere I can. I'm going to work just as hard as I always did. My margins are going to be slightly healthier so that, if I have to compress them later, it's not going to be traumatic. I'm going to work just as hard as I ever did. And every bit of stuff, every bit of time I save with AI, I'm going to find a new way to absolutely delight the people I work with, to get deeper with my candidates, to get deeper with my clients, to get more embedded in my industry, to spend more time kind of building networks, because they are the people who are just going to be bulletproof. What you're going to have, I think, is for a lot of roles, 5 years from now, talent acquisition teams are just going to go and, they're just going to pay for the subscription, go and get the candidate. They're going to spend a few £100 and they're done.
Yeah.
And then there will be the roles that nobody's willing to put in the hands of AI. And there's going to be a very small selection of people whose hands they are going to be put in. And I think the job of every recruiter at the minute is making sure they're one of them.
Yeah. Clients are going to pay for a candidate they couldn't have found themselves, not a big pile of CVs or a long list or a short list or the commodity side of the job. It's almost going to be non-existent. It's going to be the relationship and the subject matter expert side of things. And I think that's where you're going to die or you're going to actually thrive. Every cloud has a silver lining. There's opportunity here.
Yeah.
There's massive opportunity. If you get this right, it's going to blow up. If you
There's
get it
gonna there's
wrong
gonna be
and you
2 or
slip
3
in,
recruitment firms in every vertical who are making like bandits while everyone else is fighting over the scraps.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Everybody's fast now, aren't they? That's not a differentiator anymore.
no, of course not. Yeah. Yeah. It's
That's the race to the bottom. We're fast. Big deal. So are we.
fast and cheap is that's not a differentiator in business services and AI world.
Yeah,
Everyone can be fast, everyone can be cheap.
agreed.
You've got to be special. And I think a lot of the kind of balancing act at the minute is, so let's talk about someone who maybe started a business 18 months ago. They've built some good experience, they've become credible, they're in a good position to launch a business. They've got a bit of money time under their belt from the first year, 2 years. That they're in a solid position. The balancing act here is obviously you need to grow the business, you need to generate revenue. You have to sell in the world that we're in now while preparing for the world that we're going to be in a year or two's time.
Mm.
So it is a balancing act. I'm not going to pretend it's like it's easy, but then, building industry leading firms was never easy. Otherwise, everyone would have an industry leading firm. But I still think today, I don't know, there's a big statement. I think today it is still a level playing field. The Adecos, the Hayes, the Manpowers, we don't need to worry about them. They're playing a different game. They're going to continue playing that game. They'll succeed or they'll fail. I think probably they'll get squeezed, but they're kind of big enough
I think their figures are dropping.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I saw a LinkedIn post. I think the data was a little bit old, but I think that's a reflection of what's happening in the wider world, though, to be honest with you. But yeah, you're right. It's not about those big guys.
It's probably about, you might be looking as a recruiter, maybe you're looking at your own former employer. Maybe you're looking at, in your sector, the leading business is this one. They've got 50 people. They're big, shiny, and they look unassailable today. I think 2 years from now, they might not be. I mean, look, they might be. But I think you could be looking today as a solo recruiter, as a recruiter with one or two people on your team. You could be looking and going, right, actually, I can take anyone. I'm going to pick this space within a space, and I can take anyone in that space because I'm going to put the right tools around me. I'm gonna do all of the things that the commodity players are doing to be quicker and cheaper. I'm going to do all of them, and then I'm going to use all of the time I save to be the absolute best in this space. I mean, look, let's just think about, we do BD, we do lead gen for recruitment firms. You can do one of two things. You can say, look, I'm going to sit hammering the phones. I'm going to go to every networking meeting. I'm going to do all of this, and I'm going to do the sifting myself. Or you can say, listen, I want to be talking to people who are ready to talk to me. And all of the people who aren't ready to talk to me, that they need someone knocking at their door, someone else is going to do. And there's a lot of different ways you can do that. I'm not saying that ours is the only solution, but I'm not going to spend my time sifting. I'm going to spend my time talking to serious people. You can use AI to do many of those things, and I'm going to take all of the spare time to do more for the people that I actually connect with. Just one example. I'm not going to spend all of my time sitting with a blank sheet of paper. I'm going to become a thought leader in my industry. I'm going to ensure that in my little piece of the world that I'm going to own, that everyone knows who I am and everyone knows what I think and everyone knows what I'm about. I could sit with a blank sheet of paper and like agonize, drag ideas from my head. I can learn to copyright. I can learn to video edit. I can learn to do all of these. I know, actually, I'm going to use AI to do that. So like, you can actually hit a point where, you are a significant thought leader with a much bigger network and you've still got more time.
Yeah.
And then it has more of that, if that makes sense.
Do you know the amount of people, the amount of founders we've spoke to that I'm just going back to how I was. You just don't think like this when you're like a one-man band recruiter. I can't think of any conversations we've had where they kind of know that they've got to do more. They go into the networking meetings, they go into the curry club, and they're part of team. And I don't know, they're not wired up to think like that. This out. Just something that popped in my head. I'm going off piece a little bit now. Just would you say that you use AI if you were a recruiter now, or is it getting to the point where it's becoming a negative?
I'm not a recruiter, I've also, and I'm always clear with people about this. I've owned recruitment businesses. I've bought and sold businesses. I've never been a recruiter. You have. I'm going to answer that question as best I can by answering it for ourselves. We use AI. We use AI heavily. Where something can be more efficient because AI is integrated in it, it already is in our business. And we're always looking for ways to make that better. We have never outsourced our judgment to AI. We never will outsource our judgment to AI. Everything you see has been touched by a human. It has been judged by a human. The humans who are doing this are deeply experienced people. Do we sit and look at individual LinkedIn profiles and sit sort of writing our own Boolean searches and sifting through? Absolutely fucking not. No, of course we don't. It would be idiotic. I mean, so yeah, I feel like who I am as a person, the way I think I probably would be quite open about that. Yes, because I am in our business. But I would also maintain the standard that I have, that, we never outsource our judgment. We let it, think of it as the intern, think of it as the office junior, think of it as the sort of new grad that you bring in. You give it clear instructions about what you require of it. You set it off and then you check their work. You don't just hand someone who's been in your business 3 weeks the keys and have them just doing all the work, do you? You look over their work, and we do the same with AI. And I don't think there's any shame in that.
Well, bringing it to a close, because we've talked for a good 45 minutes. One of the words that's popped up most of all there is judgment. And you've just hit the nail on the head. No matter what you do, never outsource your judgment.
Yeah. That's what your clients will buy from you, your judgment.
100% agreed. I think that's a wrap.